Hello and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Gene Worsley. I'll be your host for this session of Miller's Don't Kick It Old School webinar series. We're taking a look at school and school photography. Today's session will cover the task of learning how to establish packages and products for maximizing your sales. Now in the coming weeks we have a series of webinars lined up for you covering school and school topics, so I hope you're able to join us for all those sessions as we work through those through August 4th. During our session, we'll be joined by two very experienced school photographers from the Freed Spirit Studio. Carla Freed and her husband Neil are owners of Freed Spirit. Carla will be joining us today. Freed Spirit is a premier school photographer in the Washington, D.C. area. We are also joined by Brian Blanken. Brian is also a photographer and a partner with Carla and Neil in the Freed Spirit business. So with that in mind, let's get started with our session. It's my honor and my pleasure to introduce to you today Brian Blanken and Carla Freed of the Freed Spirit Studio. Folks, you have the floor.
Good morning. Thank you, Gene. This is Carla Freed.
Good morning.
I'm not Neil. I am Brian. Thanks for watching. Hopefully we'll get something out of our show today. First, I just want to apologize. I was hoping to get my hair cut these last couple days, so I totally understand if you minimize or black your screen. You may want to mute occasionally, but that's totally up to you. My wife tends to think that I talk a little bit too much anyway, so I'll try not to do that. But when we looked at doing kind of maximizing your sales and talking about how to get the most out of structuring your packages, I did what most smart people would do. I went to the internet, because the internet's always right, and I used my my personal Google machine, and I Googled how to find wedding packages, how to find school packages, how to design school packages, and I pretty much came up with nothing. I found nothing. I found a lot about pricing, how to structure your pricing in terms of hourly, how much money you want to make, profit overhead, a lot of stuff like that, but I didn't find anything about what should be in package A, what should be in package C, what could be in package D. But which made me think that maybe it doesn't even matter what's in a package because there's no information about it. And then I thought, well, if that's the case, then why am I even talking about it? And then I thought, well, there's probably something to it. So we did come up with some packages on when we started, because you're supposed to have packages, and since we were really smart and we should have probably used the internet back then, but we didn't, we wrote down and we got together and we said, all right, what should be in package A? And we go, well, what's a unit? Let's do a 8x10. No, let's make it's an A. Let's make it 3 8x10s. And yeah, that sounds good. And you know what? People want a 5x7. Let's do a couple of that. So we really didn't. We had really no idea what we were doing. Like kind of, I wouldn't say everything we do, but we kind of always just jump in and in typical Neil Freed fashion. We just kind of lead, leading and jumping in. It's as I like to say, it's Memorial Day weekend. Neil Freed's not going down the ladder in the shallow end. He's kind of diving off the high dive in the deep end without even testing the water to see how cold it is. So we started that way, and we got our packages, and then we realized that there's got to be something to this. So we got a consultant, and we got together with him, and he kind of looked at our packages, and after he got up off the floor laughing, he actually had some good information in terms of really that packaging does matter, and there is a psychology or a science to it. Well, there probably is a science to it. We haven't actually figured that science out. If there is a science, if anyone's out there that knows something, a science about the way to structure it, please email us, call us. We'd love to hear it. But we don't really know. But we did hire a guy that was in the business for, I think, 20, 25 years and knew a lot about packaging and kind of what worked. And we structured a package that kind of made sense. And what we're going to just kind of go over kind of briefly, and I think Gene also has a part of the PowerPoint display, is just a little bit about kind of our packages in terms of how we structure. And Carla's going to talk a little bit about kind of the reasoning behind the packages.
Okay. So you should be able to see on your screen this form. So this is just something, a handout that I might use to, when I go to school, and also internally here, what are the packages? So what you're seeing here is, well, I'm going to start with the most popular. Right in the middle of the page, there's a package C. Package C includes a first 8x10. That's the science. That's what we learned about in school, buying school portraits. People want a package that has an 8x10. They're going to buy up because they know they want an 8x10. So that package C, middle priced, average, good value because they get quite a few items. But that's a very important item, and that is actually our best-selling package.
So just like when I was in school, I always picked C when I was taking a test. Pick C is the right answer. So you want people to jump up from package F or G and jump into C. So if I'm, and Carla does more of this, so I don't really do a lot of this, but from what our experience is, and correct me if I'm wrong, the 8x10 really is the jumping point. And it's people that gets people to go to that next level because people want an 8x10. So we don't recommend, or we don't, and you can see for yourself, we don't have an 8x10 in our F package or our G package or even our D and E packages. We make it our C package. We want people to jump up because we want our averages obviously to be a little higher.
And they see it's a good value. Now, okay, not the science, but the magic part is package A. We want people to buy package A. Who wouldn't want them to buy package A? It's a big sale. So what we've done here is we have included the digital files. Nowadays, people want that digital file. They think they're going to make a book. They think they're going to put it on a holiday card. They really like those digital files. They are going to put it on their iPhone, and they are going to put it on their digital media because they have it, and they love that. So often, very often, we have our clients go from a package C, which is a terrific medium price point, to the package A, big price point. When we learned about what to do to build packages and we put all the digital files into package A, our number 2 seller is package A. That's terrific.
So just to jump in a little bit here is one of the things that I know Neil and Carla talked about last week, but it's kind of a thing that just when you're talking about, we like to be different, we want to stand out, you want to separate and differentiate yourself from the other photographers, is that we don't talk about 8x10 units, or we're talking to the school, we don't talk about sheets, we don't talk about, Neil says, we don't talk about shooting heads, we photograph kids that are attached, heads that are attached to bodies. I think when we start photographing heads without the bodies, we'll start calling them units, but until that day, we're going to stick with 8x10 equivalents, so whether that's 2 5x7s or 4 3.5x5s, 1 8x10, that's what we talk about. We don't talk about units. Maybe in our office, I don't even think anyone knows what units are here.
We don't use that.
We don't use that word at all. And so we like to not only, it's just kind of like the same conversation about, you want to say commissions, referral fees versus kickbacks. You want to start training yourself and talking in a way that you want to constantly always, I wouldn't say always be selling, but always be kind of differentiating and always be promoting kind of what you're doing, why you're different. And that goes down to when you're talking about shooting, photographing kids. I like to say that we take portraits that happen to be done at school, not school portraits. The same way we don't shoot heads or we don't talk about, we're not a volume photography studio. All those kind of terms that some of the big guys use, and getting the kids through the line quicker and doing that and not talking about and how much sorry Gene, how much little they can pay for an 8x10. We like to talk about kind of maximizing our opportunity and getting better sales, as well as taking nicer pictures and having better experience and better service. So when you really package that, it's kind of as I like to say, that I'm a sports guy, so I'll use people are from Indiana watching, the Larry Bird kind of analogy. When Larry Bird was a fantastic player, top 50 players of all time, he was probably this much, or maybe if you're a Boston Celtic fan, maybe this much bigger, but in a lot of different areas, he was this much bigger. When you added them all up, he was this much better than everybody else. So I think that's kind of the way we look at it too. If we add everything that we do just a little different, a little better, then when you look at the total package, pun intended, that we will, it's going to really be a difference maker when you're talking about schools and packaging. So, is there anything else you want to add
Yeah,
about
okay, a
that?
little bit more. We were so successful with package A with all the digital files because we do take a couple pictures, more than one, if it's online, but we'll get back to that. We added on package B one digital file. So we saw how powerful that was to have the digital files. So now if you buy package B, which is a bigger sale than package A, one file, we increase those sales as well. Not as much as package A because they see the real value is package A. So we really like that.
Yeah. So in our world, that's like a $20 difference. So for $20, they're going to get more pictures, and then the digital file, people are going to have to make that jump. We just want to create value. We're not big on discounting. We don't do sales. I think our big promotion that we may do would be like a free shipping, something like that. We don't get 10% off. We may throw in an extra print or something, or a class photo or something like that. I mean, tell me if
So what Brian's really talking about here is how do we increase it? We're increasing sales. We might do promotions during the year, and we don't discount it. But if they're already online and they viewed it, and we want to give them another chance to purchase, we might do it. They love the free shipping. That's really good, and they really appreciate that reminder. Gee, I forgot to order the pictures. I'm delighted to go in there and order them.
So just taking a step back for a second, because we do pre-order. I don't want to sit here and say that we do everything online and that's magic, and it does. We do have schools that do pre-order, and when we do a pre-order, obviously that's limiting to what people are seeing, what they're going to buy, and trying to make them work. But when you do a pre-order, you want to obviously, hopefully, after you get the first year, take a nicer picture so that your chances of people ordering and seeing, like going for that, that C or B package with the digital file, or however you decide you want to structure it, to get, or the download or whatever, to get them to go up, to jump up. Because we all know the three numbers that matter. Three numbers that matter is how many students you photograph, how many of them order, and how much they order. So if you need to increase any three of those numbers, and then you're doing better. So we look at everything that we do to either say, well, how many students are we photographing, and how can we get them to order? And hopefully, how can we get them to order more? Now, we believe that because we're not so big, we feel that we like to take a little nicer picture and work hard at that to make a difference, so that we create a buzz with the students, with the staff, the parents, that these pictures are going to be really nice. So if we're doing a pre-order, we're getting a higher participation rate, and our average is going to be higher. So there is part of that culture, that buzz of trying to create more excitement about what the quality of the images that you're going to do, not just an image that people have to prepay for, that they're not really going to be crazy about. So we really do believe that you should try, as photographers, take a nicer picture. I think it does matter for how we do things. Now, when in addition to that, I think some people take one picture. But I just want to say that even if you're doing a pre-order, there's no reason why you can't take 3, 4, 5 pictures. Get crazy. Take 6 pictures. I'm a pretty good photographer. A one-take Jake is really hard. I find it hard to get that kid and have them feel good and get that picture great, where I'm going to get the best out of that kid in that 10 seconds. I would rather take a couple extra pictures, get that kid a little bit more relaxed, even though I'm just doing a pre-order, and then pick the best one, so that when that parent looks at that picture, they're going to go, that's my kid. That's a natural smile. Maybe it wasn't the first image, maybe it was the third or the fourth. And I'm not saying that sit here you need to take, like Neil said, I took 80 pictures of one kid the first week. I don't do that. We can take 5 or 6 and still get a much better result, which therefore I believe translates, because no one talks about taking a better picture. It's more about how many kids can I get through? How many heads can I shoot? How fast can I get them done? Can I do one less photographer? What's that throughput? That's what they're talking about. Not as like, well, can I get better expression? And to me, variety, of background isn't really variety of image. It's really about expression, positioning, posing, engagement of the kid, and that's where, when we look at kind of how to maximize our sales and our opportunity, is part of our if you look at you're always selling, then you want that experience of that kid to go home to his mom and say, you know, I did these really cool things, or I had a really fun day with pictures. I did this really cool pose, or I got to do something different. And now they're selling their parents on getting excited about the picture just because of the experience they have. So, you know, photography really, I say this about weddings. Sorry, Carla, just talking a minute. but I say this about weddings, is there's, you know, basically when you photograph a wedding, there's 3 basic reasons why you should have a photographer. One, because they tell you to, that's kind of not a really reason, but one, it's a record of the day. You know, here's how the day went. We went down the aisle, we had a toast, we got married, whatever. 2, here's a record of my family. Here's, you know, here's our family, here's our extended family, here's my cousins, you know, here's our family. And the 3rd, which is really the intangible, which I think is the magic of photography, is to really relive the feelings and expression when you look at that picture. It brings you back. I mean, almost like when you're in college and you get that college fraternity picture, sorority picture, you can hear the soundtrack, you hear the music that's playing at the bar. That's what photography does. And so no matter how great of a picture it is, the experience is still always never leaves that association with it. So I think that the experience, and what we look at, is watching the staff watching us work and watching the photography and dealing with that. That experience adds up to a better image and a better experience. Then there's buzz, which is going to increase and result in higher sales and higher participation rates. So what kind of a long-winded way of saying is that I think that since we are photographers and we do take a lot of pride and have a lot of passion for what we do, taking a little better of a picture is going to really help maximize your sales. So that's one of the things that we talk about, even if you're doing a pre-order. So I want to really stress that, look, one of the things I'm going to talk about next really is kind of finding the right program for the right school. And when you're photographing, when you get a school, you're lucky enough to, like last week, you've done some role playing, you've learned about how to get past the administrator. I watched last week, we did a great job. And from my beach chair. So you get past it, you finally get the school. Now it's a question of, okay, well, how do you make that, pick the right program and make that a seamless transition? And one of the things that's really important is that when you do get a school, because everyone fears change, and you finally got in front of someone, you've really killed yourself to get in front of them, you've said the right things, you've blown up, you somehow got them to like you, you found them when they were out of a contract. I mean, so many things have to fall into place, and then you get that school. You're like, yes, and then you're like, all right, now what do I do? So good news, bad news. You know, you got the school. Bad news is you got the school, and now you have to do all the other stuff associated with it. Is really, you want to make that transition from the previous photographer, because there's no new news. It's not like they haven't had a photographer before. It's really about making that transition to what you do seamless and easy. And I express the word kind of smooth rather than easy. I'm kind of more of a smooth guy than an easy guy, just because easy makes me nervous. When photographers say this is going to be an easy day, I start to panic, because I know then that's when all hell's going to break loose. So I like to say, let's make it a smooth day, let's have fun. So when I want to talk about the schools, I want to make that smooth. So what I want to find out is, what are they doing? What's the pricing that they're doing before? What is the packages? Have them get you a price list or a package from the previous photographer. Figure out, do they do a pre-order? Do they like doing a pre-order? I mean, we've gotten schools because the admin hates pre-order, and she has to deal with it, and she hates collecting forms. So we're like, okay, well, let's not do that. And she goes, and she even, I mean, we could taking, I would say iPhone picture, that would be probably an upgrade. We could take any picture, and she'd be thrilled just because of the process. So it's also a sales process of knowing kind of where they're paying, what's their issues they want to take care of to make better. So finding that price list, getting that, making that transition, because what we've found, and correct me if I'm wrong, Carla, because you do a lot of these meetings, is the pricing of the previous photographer really isn't so far off on our pricing.
Right. No, when I go to schools, I take their price list, I'm going to look at it, but often it's packaged a little different. They don't have digital downloads and all this, so it's not exactly apples to apples. So we look at the median point, it's about right. They just want to know that they're in a school portrait pricing, even though they're getting studio quality portraits, that it's price range that they're comfortable with.
Yeah, and just to, as a lead the witness, I think one of the hot buttons is really not on our high end. We don't get questioned on our A package. It's more on our lower packages in terms of what's a loose 5x7 or how much does that cost? And that's where in different schools that really matters. So I think that's where a question of knowing what the least amount of people, as from the school's perspective, they want to make the cost low to the parents, because as we all know, the pricing is also impacted by the commission that you're paying. So if it's a high commission, and that's some of the things we spell out to the principals, is, hey, if you're going to have a higher commission, then these prices are going to be higher. Now, where do you want to be? And help them kind of figure that out for you. So that pricing in terms of where it's going to go is going to come from obviously how much commission you're going to pay, how much work you're going to put in, how much work you're going to put in, how many people are going to be there, and just like real fundamentals of business. What are your costs of doing the job? How much are you paying for your production? What kind of throw-ins are you doing, whether it's school IDs, calendars, birthday pencils, all those other things, that all is factored into what you're doing. So in terms of the commission, and that's where you're getting pricing, because it's funny when sometimes, and Carla, you've probably taken these calls as well, I get a call from a parent who's kind of complaining about pricing, and she's going on about, well, I go, well, do you like the pictures? She goes, oh, they're amazing, they're beautiful, I have 12 pictures to choose from, or whatever. I said, well, that's great. She goes, but it's really expensive. I said, do you know that we don't get paid by the school? And she's like, no, I had no idea. So like when I said that and framed it, I said this is part of how this works. Is we're there shooting, hoping that we only get paid when you buy something, and then it kind of shifted the conversation. I'm not saying everyone is maybe that naive or that from that boat, but it does sometimes frame it differently when you're talking about hey, this is part of a fundraiser from the school in terms of how that works. To go, you want to say something? Which is fine. I'll just have more of my scotch, because the more I drink, the better you look.
No, I'm just going to go back to when you're talking about schools and package pricing. So jumping back a few paragraphs here. What the schools really look at is what's that starting price. If you look at that lower package G, they're going to feel comfortable if that price is okay with them. Because they also want, if somebody loves the pictures and they buy more and they see package A, great, everybody's happy about that. But it's that package G that they're going to be concerned about for their parents who are going to struggle to purchase. So that becomes important then. But then when people buy, they buy the medium package with the 8x10 is your important.
Yeah. So one thing that also talk about is everyone kind of gets hooked on commissions, which is fine. We do that. We really don't make a big deal about commissions when we start the school. Now, I know Carla's going to think I'm a little crazy for saying that. I don't say I don't care about it, but it has to be reasonable within what we do. But we want the business, because we look at our school. The school is not just a 1-year opportunity. We look at it as a 10-year. We don't sign 10-year contracts, but in our minds, we look at it as a 10-year contract. And I think if you looked at your business, if you say a school's $10,000, and instead of looking at it as a $10,000 piece of business, you looked at it as a $100,000 piece of business, you may look at things a little differently. So we try to look at things not just as like a year by one, but really building our entire business and brand, and how that admin goes, they're fantastic, and that leads to another school. And that's how what I like to say, the web, like our web of kind of more of a spider web, not the World Wide Web, kind of spreads in terms of, okay, we're out here, now we're connected to more schools, and it goes wider, and now our reach is getting done. And then we sit back, and people start calling us, which is really fantastic. One of the things that also you need to take into consideration is with the pricing is making sure that you're making money. Who cares if you get to school? And Carla and I have this conversation all the time about, did that school, what's the performer? Like, know your top school. Know how many people are ordering. What packages are they ordering? Is the right approach. So, for example, we were talking, in fact, yesterday about a school that is a great school in our area, in a great area. There's 700 kids, and the sales are like nowhere near where I think, or Carla thinks they should be. And it was our first year, so we're not exactly sure, because the first year you're kind of feeling it out, maybe you have the wrong program. And we did kind of an indoor fall, and then we did outdoor kind of spring sessions with classes, and it really didn't really work as well as we wanted to work. So now, once we're in there, now it's a chance to kind of redefine and refine what our approach is. So we may take out a spring shoot or a fall to really maximize that opportunity, because when I look at over 2 times where we're shooting, if we're not really getting the amount of money, then we're really working for nothing, which we've all done to get started. I don't want to make that a habit. So sometimes, in fact, I think we have a 99% retention rate, but I know there's one school that wanted a really high commission, and they said, well, we can get a higher commission from us, but I'm not going to do that because it doesn't really work economically for us, and we had to let that school go, which was fine, because I think saying no is really powerful, and it makes you feel good. You can do it nicely, but you just say, that's really not something, and we'll answer your call when you call back, and don't burn a bridge, and you'll be great. You'll be even better, and they'll be even more appreciative when they call you back to work with them. One of the things, just in terms of that culture and kind of having the right plan, because I think it's really important, even more important than the packaging, is really having the right approach and learning about the culture and the community and who you're selling to. Like, is it an online community? Do they do a lot of online marketing from their administration? Is it really a prepay, or is it kind of a mixed demographic area where maybe not everyone has internet access? So you have to really kind of have the right program for the right school. And let me tell you, we're in a great area and we do a lot of great schools, but we do schools that are in not so great areas, because I also feel, just from a company standpoint, I feel those pictures that are really great are almost more valuable to those lower economic areas, because this is not they don't have opportunity. They're not getting bar and bat mitzvahs and doing these fancy events and sweet 16s and senior portraits and spending money to get professional photographers. They're just trying to pay the rent and get by. And so I think having a nicer picture, that could be their only picture they get all year. That's really a professional picture, if not ever. So I feel that I like, as a company, I feel, to kind of give back, so to speak. To do those kinds of schools is really great, but let's do them in a way that makes sense. I mean, I'm not going there and shooting 20 pictures a kid. We're shooting a pre-order. We're going to do 5 or 6 pictures a kid. We may do a couple expressions. We may put them on after line later. We may not. But it's really about knowing what school you have and making sure you have the right program. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm going to go back to about maximizing your sale a little bit. So we're at a school, we've got the right program. So a couple things back to the sales and the ordering and the pricing and things. First of all, we do these packages. When you get into Miller's software, you set up all the package programs, so it's really seamless in terms of what you're offering your client and how it gets delivered from Miller's, beautiful quality, in their envelope with the student's name. The other way we maximize our sales, they love the pictures, right? Maybe they want a coffee mug. Maybe they want a water bottle or a keychain. You get the idea.
Right. The more products you have, the more you can sell.
Dog tags, super popular.
It's another $10, $15. Now your average sale is going from $30, $35, $45, $50, $55. That's where the magic is. And we also run promotion. I think we touched about that earlier. There's no problem with Mother's Day promotion, end of year promotion. Reminders are fantastic. People appreciate. They call and they say, "I'm glad you reminded me. I really wanted to order." And then all of a sudden, in June, you're getting a huge amount of orders, and you shot the school 6 months ago. So that's something that's really, really important.
And the principal I met with today was appreciated that we were sending the reminder, because they're looking for commission, so they're willing to communicate to their parents to buy these pictures.
Right. So one of the other approaches that some of our schools do, and it's more of an independent school thing, where they include a package for every kid. So we're basically getting 100% participation out of that school.
We like those schools.
Yeah, they're great schools, and so we get 100%. Now we're not selling a $50 package to each kid. It's a much smaller dollar, but it's a guaranteed dollar. But we pick the picture, and then we put all the other pictures online, and then people get orders. So there are different approaches to the school, and if you can get a school to say, hey, we want to include a package for everybody and do that and then make it work, then you can do that. So there's more than one way, and I know they do this more in kind of dance schools or hockey and things like that. It's really charging more of a flat rate, which I heard one photographer was doing that. I'd be kind of curious to see how that works. Where they're charging maybe $30 to $40 a student, and they get pretty much all the digital files, and then they put them online for reprints later. It's an interesting concept. We haven't tried that, but I just heard that lately. It was kind of an interesting thing to do. But to me, really the most important thing is just really figuring out the right program for the right school. And when we've gotten in the first year, it's like anything. You just want to get in and make it easy. And then once you're in, and I think Neil even touched upon this last week, he'll appreciate this because he'll know as I was listening, that, excuse me, I'm getting choked up talking about Neil, it's emotional. Thank you for laughing. So when he looked at the service, you can't tell someone you're going to give them better service. A lot of people say we have great service. Until you really give them great service, you can't say you're going to give them great service. So once you get in and you kind of prove, you do all the things that you're supposed to do, and you prove that you give great service, and you prove that your pictures are better and timely and looks perfect, and all that stuff that goes along with being professional and a great company and a great experience, then there's a time to say, this didn't really work for us. As I like to say, it's kind of the Oprah Winfrey. Well, that's not really working for me. Well, let's figure out a way to make it work for both of us so that we can have kind of, as we like to say, a 21, a win-win-win, a win for us, a win for the school, and a win for the parents. Now, having that work, that's where now you have their trust. And if you want to make, like we talked about just a second ago, I think it's great. We didn't get the kind of the participation we were looking for. I feel like we want to do a different program this year, or a different approach, or what do you think? And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, 99% of the time, they're like, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, they are. They really do. They want their parents to be taken care of, to get the pictures they want. They want to maximize the sales so that they maximize their commission. So when we can find the right program for the school, either it's what they're doing before they're happy, or we've done a program and then we can see from the kind of response we have what we would recommend. That's powerful. We go back in, and that's where we're maximizing our sales, is really listening to the school's needs, listening to the administrators and principals, and responding accordingly. There are different, whether it's a pre-order form or we're directing them online. It's the best package for the school, and I think we've given you an idea of how you make the packages. But really, the overriding principle to that is what's the right program for each school. They do vary a little bit.
I think that's my big takeaway is the package or the packages. But it doesn't matter if you're doing the wrong program with the right package for the wrong school. It doesn't matter. So it's really figuring out what's the package that in the approach that's right for that school, and we're pretty good at doing that. We don't always get it right the first time, and we're not perfect, but we try hard and we make adjustments. We like to say we don't make the same mistakes twice. So and I also want to make that transition smooth for that school. Like if they're used to doing it this way, then let's do it that way, and then get in there and then make that change. So that's kind of where we come from. So it's not really, obviously the packages are important because people buy packages, but figuring out the culture in the school, that's really, and I've said that a bunch, is kind of the magic, I think, really. I don't really have anything else as it pertains to that, unless you want to chime in. I do have, Gene, sent us a couple of questions from the previous week. I was just going to kind of answer a couple out there, and then turn it over to Gene to ask us maybe if there's any questions, if anyone's even still listening, questions. One of the questions from the previous weeks is, I photographed a Montessori school. They insist on uniforms, although I've suggested picture day that would be other clothing. This kind of just speaks to exactly what we're just talking about. Having the right program and the right approach is the way to go. Now, if they say we do. In fact, we did this one year. We've changed the way they do it, but if they say they want school uniform pictures, well, you better take school uniform pictures. Now, you may want to be able to offer a spring casual shoot, or maybe an every other year kind of comment,
One school wears a uniform, switches every other year, so they're in uniform one year and they're in free dress the next year.
But that's something you can do once you're in. Like it's hard really to go in and say, I think this is better. So I think that's really a question of finding what the culture of the school is and giving it to them. We always say sales is pretty simple. Find what they want and give it to them. And then once you're in, then make suggestions. Or, let's add this that I heard, or get in with the PTA and see, hey, would this be something you would be interested in? Could we do this as a fundraiser? Could we do this something different that create more things? And that's where you get some things. Let's see, another question that was from another week is, how do parents go online and buy photos? In my experience, parents get busy and forget, and they're paying a lot in hosting fees, and they get back in sales. What's our process to ensure that they go online and even view them? Well, there's a couple things. One is, we send email reminders, like we talked about. I think our system, how we do things in general in terms of how we photograph the kids, how we match up the kids, our system works seamlessly with Miller's. We actually have a really great system that our software that we've created that works seamlessly with Miller's. It downloads the order from our e-commerce site. We can do the cropping right through Miller's, sends it up. Miller's fantastic. I don't know, probably in like 6.5 minutes they send the picture back. They're really amazing. Gene's like, no way. But Brian Hutchins just fell off his chair. They get the stuff done really well, but it enabled us to really get things done quickly and use less staff in our office to do more ordering because of our software and the Miller system. And we really built a bridge. I'm like, this is a good time to say this. We're bringing people together and uniting to then go and make our our fulfillment process a lot easier. Now, to answer the end of that question, how do they ensure they go online? That's really knowing the culture of the school. If they're not an online school, then they're not going to go online. So that really kind of goes back to that previous thing. I think I got one or two more here. Is this information that we're giving timely to get business this fall, or is it kind of not really appropriate for this time? Well, I think anytime you get in front of a principal or an admin that's a buyer, you do it. We had 2 schools last year that we met with in October, and we photographed them in November. They broke their contracts, or I don't know if they were up or whatever, and they saw our pictures, and they said the PTA went to the principal and said, we got to have these people at our school, and we went and did their school. So I feel that anytime you get in front of someone, take that opportunity. We've had a number of people, they take our brochure and they hold it and they wait till the principal moves or retires. And then they call it our first call. We have times when you get in with the school. You get in with the school that may not know when they're going to be up, but they hang on to that material, and then they come back and they give it to you. So anytime you get in front of a school, I think it's never too late. It's always good to do that and kind of practice. The more you get in front of people, the more you refine, the better you get, the more confident you're going to be. I'm hoping next week I'll be better than this week. Anything else?
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Gene, so I'll throw it back to you if there's any questions or if anyone's still awake.
Okay. All right. Great information, guys. Appreciate you sharing that with us. One thing that came up kind of early in the presentation was with the package A. I don't think anybody can see it probably really well, but package A includes all the images that they post to the gallery, so they'll have access to those if they purchase that one. Whereas package B is just a single image they order from. So is that correct, guys? Just make sure I'm on task with that. Okay.
That is correct.
A couple things come in. Talk about, we talked about a couple different ordering processes. One of those is a pre-order. One is where you hand out the forms and online. This pre-order process, how does that work? We have some questions talking about that.
Well, I mean, the pre-orders, as I would imagine, is pretty standard to how everyone else does a pre-order. We send a pre-order form to the school. Parents fill it out.
The pre-order form, you really can't see too much of this, but it's got a flyer telling you about.
Zoom in on that a little bit.
Can you zoom in, Dave?
It's got a flyer telling you.
Here, I'll hold.
It's a flyer. The flyer has got the date. We're going to come to the school, a little bit of information, and we put a few sample pictures because they don't always read everything, so they get to see, okay, great outdoor photos, and then turn that around. And on the back, coincidentally, is the packages we just described, A through G, and the bottom half has got an order form. So that is, so they fill it out, they put cash checks on there, and off they go to, and they turn in on picture day. So that's the pre-order form.
One thing I think that, just to touch on that, is even though we're doing a pre-order form, is we want to show that what kind of pictures we're taking, and really kind of constantly be going, we are different, we're differentiating on quality. It's a little different than what we do. Maybe it's a different expression or a different pose that we're going to show. Just to kind of keep kind of reminding people that we are not the same old.
Okay. Do you guys ever do any kind of a la carte type of ordering for the customers on there?
Absolutely. We have, we'll sell anything. If anyone wants to buy this table, we're happy to sell it. But we definitely sell loose 8x10s and two 5x7s for just kind of like everybody else. I mean, there's no magic. I mean, the big guys really have figured out packaging better than we have. It's a question of, I think, the three numbers: how many students you shoot, how many of them buy, and how much do they buy. If you have more to sell, then your average is going to be higher. If that's just kind of common sense. So I think that's where if you want to maximize your opportunity, have more to sell.
Okay, and you guys may have touched on this a little bit here. I apologize, we're covering some ground you've already covered here, but how do you get customers to order online in a timely manner? How do you get them to go out there and get that turned around so the orders are wrapped up?
Well, one thing that we do, because sometimes if the school has to request this, because it is not, let me just explain it. So they go online, and we send the email, the school's sending out the email, go online, and we put on there, order by September 30th for no shipping delivered to school. So that is, the schools like it, because sometimes the parents don't want to pay any shipping whatsoever, even though the shipping is very reasonable. So that's an incentive with a deadline. People like deadlines. We're all like that. So then we make the deadline kind of short so it doesn't take too long. And then we take that group of orders that are ordered up through that September 30th date. Millers has them ready for us, 24 hours later. If we order them, they're back here. And we sort them by teacher, so they go right into teacher boxes at school, and not in a position on the school to get those sent home. That's a deadline. People like the deadlines. Now we're not finished selling them, because if it's a little bit after that date, they have the opportunity to go back on. The principal is going to send out a reminder, and we're going to do some of the programs we were talking about earlier. Maybe a Mother's Day reminder, a Father's Day reminder, an end of year by now reminder.
Plus, one of the things that we work really hard at is quick turnaround time. And not just thanks to Miller's, but really our own in terms of initially seeing the pictures. So if we have a great vibe on picture day and the kids are going home saying it was really cool, and then 2 months later they're looking at the pictures, that buzz is kind of gone. But 2 weeks later, it's a different conversation. Now you're kind of striking while the iron's hot. So this is a world of instant gratification. I mean, everyone's looking at their phone. Everyone wants things now. The faster we can get things to people, the faster they're going to be still excited about it, the quicker they're going to order. And that's really part of kind of our philosophy is like, let's get quick turnaround, great pictures, great service, get it to them fast, let them buy.
Okay, great. I have a question here from one of our attendees. And the question is, have you ever had to do this? My high school starts August 22nd, and they ask me to take pictures August 23rd, so they get the IDs just back as soon as possible. Any ideas of how you might handle that? Getting the packets out to the kids and back is just going to be a nightmare. If you're running to that quick turnaround on the IDs, and how would you handle that?
Yes.
Yeah, we've done it a couple different ways, and it is a nightmare, and it is kind of there's a couple. I don't know if you can know how many students they're talking about. It would be interesting because we've had a separate station there with that, almost like the MVA, where they go through the station, and they do that. I mean, Miller's makes the IDs so it's super fast to upload it and do that. I know people make their IDs on their own and come back and do it. There's not really a simple, easy answer. We've tried to do it on site and do it quickly, but it doesn't sometimes go as fast. You need a lot of machines and a lot of people, and you're doubling your staff just to get IDs. But what I would say is, if that's part of how you're going to get to school, then get to school, and then you have to just charge more. I would say, well, or I need an extra day or two. I understand that people need it for the bus and this and that, but there's always a little bit of flexibility to do that sometimes, but sometimes not. If it is, well, look, I'm happy to do it, but we just need to charge in a way that makes sense and bring the right people and the right amount of equipment. Anytime we try to, shortcut or anything like that, it really doesn't work. And we always feel that, especially the first time out of school, I'll always schedule, if we need 3.5 people or 4.5 people, I'm scheduling 5 or 5.5, because I want to make that first impression. I want to really kind of blow them away, and really, when they see all our staff, we're differentiating right there to really make a difference. Sorry, I didn't have a really great answer there.
Question here. I've never shot schools. What is a typical commission? I know it kind of runs the gamut here for a lot of different schools, but what would you feel is probably a typical commission you run into? Is it 10%, 20%, more?
It's funny. In my fantastic research of Googling, it actually came up, and I think in the Southeast it's like the most, like upper close to 50%. In Texas is pretty high as well, I think, 30 to 40%. If you're competing on price and all you have to do is commission, and you're doing the same thing everyone else is doing, you're kind of stuck. Schools are schools, and they need that revenue. So you need to either get creative and figure out how to structure that commission in a way that kind of makes sense, with either value or different things or fundraising, other options, things like that. Or they're so unhappy with their current provider, photography provider, that the price doesn't matter. Where maybe it doesn't matter in terms of, well, you don't have to match a 40 or 50%, but maybe you'll be 20% or 15. Ideally, everyone wants to be as little as possible. But most people, I would say, out there are probably between 20 and 30. Is that kind of?
It runs a gamut. It's hard to, and it depends if you're giving a lot of services. If it's a school that's getting IDs and they're getting other things, I can't think of the top of my head, then we know that you were thinking about that when we're discussing commission. The best advice we give you in terms of commission is really to look at what do they have. Let's match that.
Yeah, but I think if you can't match, you got to match it to a certain extent. We've actually, there was a school that they came to us and they wanted a huge amount of money, and I was like, you know what? If you can get that, then you should take it. Taking bad business is still bad business. So I think the commission's out there. Ideally, I think when we look at our numbers and just from a business standpoint in terms of cost, labor, overhead, profit, all that, things like that. If you're somewhere between a 10 and 20% thing, that's very workable based on kind of a normal pricing structure. Anytime you get over that, then you really got to start increasing your price, because that number, like I said, is really coming from the parents anyway, in terms of what the price is and what they're paying.
Okay, fantastic. Hey, one of the questions I have, going back kind of to that order form, and even your online, do you offer retouching to the students for their images? Is that an extra cost item? Yeah,
it's an extra cost item. One of the things that we do is we really crop kind of that yearbook, that traditional type of picture first.
We do. Well, I'm going to actually add it here. We absolutely offer retouching. It's really important when you're in high school students, is they might have a blemish or two in their face. It's essential. It's really, back to Miller's, when you do place your order and there's a retouching thing, you just click this box, retouch, and you get a really nicely retouched image back. Doesn't take a long time, doesn't change your workflow. It's retouched.
That is magic.
And it is. I don't know how they do it. It's magic. It's beautiful.
But we definitely do retouching. We do. We try to do basic color correction. These are your images. You don't want them to look. You want them to be people to buy them. You want them to look as well as they can. But at the same time, it has to make business sense. We're not retouching every picture.
We don't. If they want their retouched, they do have to purchase that. Yeah. That's not included.
Add-on.
It's an add-on.
Okay, great. Couple question here about some mechanics here about digital files. First of all, how's a digital file prepared for delivery to your customer? And then secondly, do you offer just a digital download only option? Kind of talk about the digital file and how that mechanics work.
That's a good question.
That is a great question. We do a digital download. Our e-commerce site, it just gets downloaded directly, so really no work. I mean, when people, my goal, if I could have everyone order a digital download only or a package A, which has basically no work for us and very little cost, I mean that's where that's a home run. So if I could sell digital images all day long, that's great. Obviously, if I'm selling one digital image versus more, there's more value, so that helps increase that cost too. And what's the second part of that question?
Well, and how do we deliver them? I did forget to talk about that because actually on our pricing, I know you can't see this, but when they have the option of buying one digital file or all of them, and when they see all of them and they see they go to package A for just a little bit more, again, it encourages them to go to package A.
Right. So I think, and how we prepare them, it's just that we're creating JPEGs and uploading to our e-commerce site, and it gets directly downloaded right to the client instantly. So it's really no work for us. And we used to before they did that, we did it by hand, and we had it was a disaster. I mean, it was like we had 10 people like all doing digital downloads. Yeah, it was awful.
Yeah, but we do, and our software really helps put the pictures in a folder with the digital files. So when they do purchase it, it goes.
I mean, that's the magic. If I could tip, if I was wearing my Neil Fried hat, I'd tip it to him because, the way we do things in terms of just our system and shooting and what we need and what kind of services we wanted to provide and the kind of information we wanted to have, just not only just from a workflow standpoint, but also from a sales standpoint, and then obviously attracting the schools and working with our e-commerce site, bridging the gap to Miller's, making that a seamless transition. There really wasn't anything out there. And that's where we really created kind of a turnkey system from shooting, from getting the student data list, putting it into our software system, kicking out the codes that match up the kids with the students, the codes with the students, bringing it back into our system, getting it grouped, edited, uploaded to our e-commerce site, and then seamlessly downloaded to Miller's. To me, that is an ultimate game changer that has enabled us. People ask all the time, how do you, we have over 100 schools, or however many schools we have, whatever the number is. How did you go from 1 to 100 in the way you do things? Well, you're limited initially by how much work you can do and how many people you have. And when we started out, we were larger than most because we were a larger wedding social photography studio, and we had a little bit of staff, so that kind of enabled us to kind of make that leap. But if you're working, you have an assistant that works part-time, and it's you, or maybe someone else helps you, it's a lot of work. And it's great you shoot a school, and that's, we almost found that shooting the school was almost the easy part. It was everything else that really was the problem. So we needed to create something that really worked for us to make our seamless transition and our workflow to enable us to deliver in a way that we wanted to. And that, for us, has really been a game changer. It's the only way we're here where we are now, and it really had made a difference into letting us do what we do best.
Okay, a couple questions come in about your e-commerce site. Is this something that you've created? Is this something that you're working with a vendor on? Password protection? Speak a little bit about your e-commerce that you've.
We work with Simple Photo. We work with Image Quicks. Our company, for our internal, we basically work with Simple Photo. Works great. It's simple. It's photos. Simple Photo. It's just really simple for us to work with them. What's the second part of that question?
From the time we take the photos, we work with our software, and our software is, we can call us, we'll give you more information on that if you are interested, and that is seamless between getting the orders from the e-commerce into our software, and then Miller's, it's a bridge is right over to Miller's, so Miller's is processing the order, so it's
and then Miller's is drop ship, or they're shipping right to the customer, and you're just, we see the money just, kind of go into our bank account. So it's pretty sweet.
Right. Our idea really is, you would take the pictures and see the money in your bank, and the client gets the pictures. So that's what we're.
So it sounds like you guys have done quite a bit of software internally to be able to handle this and take care of it and make it a little more less work for you, a little more seamless.
Well, and that's the idea. I mean, I think people in any business, I mean, whether there's weddings and everyone's trying to get into like not even editing their pictures and converting RAWs and just, album design work online, photographers are busy and they're making money when they're shooting. And when they're not shooting, they're not making money. So we want to really kind of take that kind of, and also, by the way, it's the least fun. Let's be honest. I mean, no one likes to do all that stuff. It's really tedious and detail oriented, and that's why Carla deals with that, and I don't, and Neil definitely doesn't. But so to do that in a way that really works is really fantastic. And I think if you're a starting photographer, that's the part that's intimidating. Trying to get into the school business, but then realizing I have to match everything up. Well, we were in that same situation. We were like, well, how are we going to do it in a way that works in our system, shooting the way we want to shoot, creating pictures that really matter to us and really that we can be proud of and be passionate about taking, but fitting it into a system that works, because the system is really, sacrosanct, and that's what you can't really deviate from our fulfillment, because that's the lifeblood of how we work and how we deliver. And inside of that, our system does a lot of things to give us flexibility, and that's what we worked really hard at, and it's every year, and we're constantly refining, and that's what's great about how Neil's really done it, is that since we're in the business, this isn't a third company that's designing for photographers, we're shooting and using it every day. So if something comes up that we need to make it work, then we make it work. So it's really kind of always, it is, the good news is it's constantly evolving, the bad news is it's constantly evolving, and we're constantly working on it.
Okay, great. I've got one more question to kind of wrap up, and I think this may lead us kind of into our session next week. It kind of doesn't have anything to do with packages, but somebody asked a question, how does Freed have time to create better portraits when shooting an entire school? And this may, again, lead into kind of your workflow, what you're talking about next week here, but as far as shooting outdoors, suitable backgrounds, those type of things, so could we wrap up with that question?
Yeah, so I'll just kind of, this is a question I get all the time, and I know we're going to talk, I think I'm going to talk about it next week as the topic. This is my wheelhouse in terms of how do we make it happen. Really, the answer is somewhat easy in terms of, well, we bring more people. You can't photograph 800 people with one person and really do the variety. The math does not work. So you have to bring more people, and that you gamble that you're going to take a nicer picture and you're going to have better participation, higher average, and that's going to cover your investment on making the thing. So that's the short answer. The other answer, which I'm going to go into next week, is more of the details in terms of how that works and the psychology, and then kind of being prepared. It's kind of like everything. Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. So you have to go out there and really have a plan and a system that works. We do have with our system that we've created, we spend more time photographing than entering or scanning barcodes or naming students. So a lot of that time that other companies do in terms of figuring out who it is and typing into the computer, we don't do that. We don't shoot tethered. So there's a lot of things that we do to kind of make our system a little lighter, a little more streamlined, and a little quicker on that end, so we can spend more time doing the fun stuff, which is taking pictures.
All right, we'll have to wrap it up with that, folks. We're getting close to our hour time frame here. We want to keep everybody on schedule, so if you have something scheduled after this, we want to keep you on schedule with that. I would just like to say thank you for all the great questions. We have a lot of them come in here. We're going to be sharing those with Brian and Carla. The wrap up here, they'll receive those via email. I'll send them over to them so they can take a look at them, see if there's anything we need to touch upon either next week or directly to you. So thank you so much for sending those over. I do appreciate those great questions. And so as we begin to wrap up, here is their email address for both Brian and Carla. So if you want to have a question that you think of maybe later on this week, if you want to bounce it off them, here are their email addresses. I know they'd be happy to hear from you and appreciate your questions. So please be sure and something comes up, be sure and use it as a great resource. I would just like to say thank you for being here today. Thank you once for attending. Please keep in mind we have 2 more sessions coming up after this one. For next Thursday and the following Thursday, we'll wrap up on August 4th, covering the different school topics. If you've registered, we'll see you next week. If not, please go to the Millers website, click on our blog area. We have blog entry for the Don't Kick It Old School, so you can register for the upcoming sessions. Be sure and do that if you haven't yet. Also, We'd just like to say thank you for being here. We'll look forward to see you again online real soon. Take care. Have a wonderful day, everyone. And thank you for choosing Millers. We appreciate that greatly.